Hey, what's going on, everybody? Really excited to be back here in the film room today to be taking a look at SMU defensive tackle Jeffrey Emba, truly one of the most disruptive defensive tackles in college football this year. And he's got a really unique background too, having grown up in France. You know, he's still newer to football, having only played for a couple years. He became the nation's #1 junior college recruit at Independence Community College a few years back. He was at Auburn and Purdue. Now he's really finding his footing here at SMU, and you know they do a lot of really good things on defense too. Coach Simons and the rest of that defensive staff, they know how to scheme it up, right? And we're going to get a chance to see some of that stuff today, and I really want to start with this clip of him getting after the passer, right? We're going to see him get after the passer. We're going to see some stuff against the run. But like I said, ultimately one of the most disruptive defensive tackles in college football. PFF credits him with 6 sacks this year, right? And we still have a couple more games left. So again, the stats are kind of telling it to you, and we'll get a chance for the film to kind of explain it further, right? So we're going to start here with this even front, right? So they're going to come out here against TCU, big game, right? Playing for the Iron Skillet. You know, they're going to come out in this even front, right? You kind of have 4 down. You have both guards, you know, covered, right? In the sense of, you know, outside shoulder, center's uncovered. So the number one thing you really kind of be looking for, generally, depending on the width of the ends and obviously the width of the tackles, but in this specific sense, the width of the ends, you'd be looking for some sort of game that's going to happen, right? Some sort of pick or stunt with the center being uncovered. But ultimately, what that's going to provide too is it's going to provide these defensive tackles with potentially with two-way goes to rush the passer. Now we see the way the TCU is setting, right? Emba, he's got this one-on-one pass rush. Here we go. That's him. He's going to have this solo rush opportunity, so we'll let it play. And we're going to see when he comes out of his stance, right? Now we have the solo rush. So we've seen what's happening here, right? The other defensive tackle, right, being occupied by two blockers. And Emba's got this solo, this one-on-one rush. And we see him, right? We're going to let it, we'll let it run all the way through just to give you a good idea of how it's going to unfold. But we see it already, right? The word disruptive, we know how powerful that word is along the defensive line, specifically along at defensive tackle. And we're going to get a chance to see that here. He comes off the ball. And we're seeing him already engaging it. We're seeing him compromise that base from the guard. We know that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? And that's what quarterbacks, that's what they fear the most. That's what they want to avoid the most. Interior pressure. We know how valuable interior pressure is because, right, like we just said, that distance, it's the shortest interval of time and traveling and space and things of that nature. So we're seeing him kind of pry open that outside shoulder, right? This is not a position you want to be in as an offensive guard, right? This is not where you want to be. He's taking that outside hand. He's kind of prying open that outside shoulder. Now, the guard does a pretty good job of recovering. He could continue to soften that outside shoulder and rip through. But again, even here, right, we'll pause it. This is really good bend for a defensive tackle, right? We see that flexion in his hips and his knees to his ankles, right? We see him bending through that contact, and he's going to push through and reach and finish the sack. I mean, this is just a really strong rep, right? We're not seeing a go-to pass rush move, right? And I think that's what gets lost in translation a lot of times when you're watching pass rushers, especially defensive tackle. You're looking for a move, looking for a go-to move, some sort of you know, hesitation to a swipe, whatever it may be. We don't see that here, but there's still there are more ways to win than just that, and we're seeing that here, right? In terms of just having brute strength, push, the athleticism, the kind of bend and contort through that angle, right? Through the guard's leverage, push back through, finish the play. Really good rep to start. All right, now it's worth noting too that Emba is listed at 6'6", 312 pounds. Right? So this is a very large dude. This is a very big individual. This is the type of size that you see on Sundays, right? We kind of know if you follow the trends of NFL football and really even college football, right? Because there is always a trickle-down effect. You are seeing, you know, a higher number of successful defensive tackles in smaller bodies, but at the end of the day, when you get to Sundays, when you get to the league and you're watching the most dominant guys, right? More often than not, they are bigger bodies. They have dimensions similar to Emba. And Emba, like I said, 6'6", 312 pounds. Very large individual. And what comes with that is what we saw in the first rep. And we're going to see here too, right? Is a packaging of strength, right? Just brute, natural, physical strength, right? The ability to generate power as well. You know, and that comes obviously not just from having mass, but also having leverage, right? The ability to bend and contort and adjust. Move your body into positions that can help you generate that power, right? It's a lot more than just having the ability to fire off the ball and kind of transfer all that mass. At the end of the day, you have to be able to access it, right? And we're going to see some of that here. We're going to let it run, and we'll run it all the way back here and let it see what, again, against Clemson, right? So obviously a team that has talent everywhere, including the offensive line. And if you were wondering who it was, he was the guy who obviously just barreled through the offensive line. We see the celebration there at the end. I love that. But when we go to the end zone view here, right, we're going to get kind of a similar front, right? We have 4 down, center's uncovered, and going back to what we just talked about in the first rep, right? When you're looking at this and you're seeing the center uncovered, obviously you're paying attention to the depth and the width of those down guys. Particularly when the center's uncovered, though, you're looking for some sort of game that's going to happen, right? You're kind of in tune to that, some sort of exchange, and that's exactly what we're going to get, right? We can see to our left, if we're looking at it, right, that really the offense is right, the right tackle, the right guard. We get a better view of what they're trying to do, of what SMU's trying to do, right? Because if we're looking at it, we're seeing the way the defensive tackles come off the ball. We see where the right tackle has eyes, right guard has eyes. We see this end right here, right? We see the way he's kind of coming off the ball, coming this way again, and this is exactly what's going to happen. These two are going to converge, and the right side does a pretty good job of it too, but I do think the left side, it's creating a clearer picture, right? Because you're getting a true 2-on-2 a text exchange, right? Or a tackle, a text stunt, whatever you want to call it. It's generally chronological order. The tackle's going first, the end's coming around and looping around, and again, we'll get a chance to see that here, right? So the tackle's going first, he's occupying those two bodies. We see the right tackle, now he is responding and adjusting to number one, crashing inside. I don't think the right guard is in a very good position to adjust to this, right? The right tackle. Now the right tackle has his hips and his shoulders open to 4 coming around. We see the running back. We don't know what's going to happen yet, right? If you were to look at this from still image, you don't know if he's just going to release out into a route, if he's going to try to pick up anything coming around, and we see him release, and then we see one coming around. So we know that there's a game happening, right? Like we talked about early on, specifically with the first clip, when that center's uncovered, that's kind of what you're keen to, you're looking for. Now, Emba here, number 6, don't love how he's standing straight up off the snap, but again, not always how you start a rep, how you finish it, right? So standing straight up, again, we have 3 here, so they have kind of this, right, this half slide, and we see the center responding. We see the left guard opening to 52, tackles opening to 52, 52's coming around, and we see Emba being he's the crasher, right? Boom, crashing through, and just being strong to get to the quarterback. They charge us with a sack. It's really close, but either way, right, it is a very detrimental pressure that can crumble the offensive structure, keep them off a schedule, things of that nature, right? Sacks year over year are not always a stable metric. There is always an element of luck and games, right? Like we talked about games up front, there are always so many factors involved with a sack, but pressure is a stable metric, right? If you're generating pressure year after, if you're good at generating pressure, you're doing it year after year, right? And we're seeing that here. That's exactly what's happening. So right, even if this isn't technically a sack, it is a detrimental pressure, and he's fighting through those two bodies. And we saw it on the sideline angle too, right? That gave us a really good view of how he's able just to split and overpower and be strong. And again, like we talked about, just kind of functional athleticism. This is a really good example of it too. And we'll go back to the sideline view for a better angle of it. But just to be 6'6", 312 pounds and have functional athleticism, to be able to not just, we see him, right? We see him overpowering this center, and he's not just falling down and losing all sense of balance and control and agility and things of that nature. We see him as he's falling, right? He's kind of he's readjusting, he's regathering himself, able to stay, kind of stay on all fours and not just, like I said, not lose all sense of usefulness, and get his hands on the quarterback, force a bad throw up, almost an interception. But again, really 2 good examples of him being used in a stunt and not being used in a stunt, right? Having a solo one-on-one pass rush opportunity. And again, right, pass rushing is such a unique part for the defensive tackle position. We know that edges, those edge rushers, man, in today's football, we know that those are the guys that's what they get paid to do. They get paid to rush the passer, whereas defensive tackle, their responsibilities, their roles, their values change a little bit. But when you have one who can do it, we know, like, if you follow football, you know how valuable it is, right? We talked about that interior pressure that always makes quarterbacks feel uncomfortable, no matter how good the quarterbacks are. That pressure can always be so much more disruptive than edge pressure, and we're seeing a good example of that here. All right, we're going to bring it to this past week's game against Boston College, and we're going to see them come out with what looks like an underfront, because they're going to set this 3-tech away from the strength, right? We got the tight end here, got the receiver coming in motion, we got 4 down, and here's our guy Emba. We're going to see him kind of slide out a little bit, but he is going to align as that 2-tech just inside shoulder of that right guard. And again, we're going to see this receiver coming in motion. We'll see the defense bounce and respond to it. And then here's our guy Emba, right? 6'6", 312 pounds, being disruptive, getting in the backfield. And again, like we talked about, man, size is not a skill. Okay, when you're watching players, when you're reading draft reports, anything of that nature, we talk about size and the dimensions very often, but it's not a skill, right? It's obviously a talking point. It's a physical trait, and it is something that you need to contextualize and evaluate and project properly. But he uses it like a skill, and that's the thing, right? You see, it's not uncommon to see bigger bodied players at any position to see them have that size but not use it to their advantage. And it sounds like a small thing. It sounds like a very obvious statement, but man, if you have it, use it. And that's the thing that I love so much about him, is with that comes this packaging of athleticism and strength behind it. So he's taking all three of these things and combining it into one productive use of who he is as a player, right? It encapsulates who he is as a player. This right guard is trying to cross face, and he can, right? Because Emba beats him off the snap, boom. Okay, again, pad level's a little high. It is what it is. You're gonna live with some of that stuff as a 6'6" defensive tackle. But the right guard can't cross face. He's trying to cross face, trying to get in position. But Emba he's too big, he's too fast, he's too athletic. He's all three of those things that we talked about, right? And it's not, I don't want to make it sound reductive just because, oh, he's bigger and stronger and more athletic than that guy, which he is. But at the end of the day, right, there is an element of skill that's being utilized here, right? We see him crossing that face, getting that first step in position, shedding that block, and we see eyes in the backfield, getting eyes on, getting hands on, bringing the guy down. So again, we're talking about all of these different things that he does well, and it goes back to what we said in the beginning. He's one of college football's most disruptive defensive tackles this year. I truly believe that. If you look at the kind of the advanced metrics that do a better job of diving deeper into that, his positively graded snaps against the run, his pressure percentage, again, 6 sacks like we talked about that PFF credits him with. He is making plays behind line of scrimmage, and that is so valuable at any level of football at that position. So, man, Jeffrey Emba quickly becoming, in my opinion, an NFL draft riser as one of those most disruptive defenders in college football. Really a guy to know as we kind of start heading into that 2026 NFL draft discussion.